Thank you, everyone, for coming this afternoon. Saw the pretzels outside, so I'm sure one or two of the folks who were out in the hallway have since fallen asleep, but I appreciate everyone being here. My name is Mike Koleno. I am the CTO of a cloud-native app modernization practice at a consulting company called Solstice. Solstice is a digital innovation consulting firm headquartered in Chicago. We are platinum sponsors here at SpringOne this week. Today, we have the opportunity to hear a wonderful client story, one of transformation as well as modernization. I have the benefit today of being joined up on stage by Sid Kuckreja from CUNA Mutual. So Sid, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
I wanted to, Sid and I were talking last night at dinner, kind of create at least a tailored talk track, sort of a build your own adventure here at the conference today as part of our talk. And I think I could do that with two basic questions. The first question is for folks in the audience who are on a transformation journey, are you at the beginning or are you a ways in terms of your transformation journey? So who in the crowd feels like they're at the beginning? Okay, handful. How about folks who feel like they're a couple clicks in at this point? Okay, it's kind of a mixed bag, but it looks like folks, at least in the audience, have at least started their journey. And then the second question to ask is, do we have a room full of practitioners and developers, or do we have more sort of executive stakeholders? So practitioner, developer, hands on the ground, okay? And then executives, okay. So kind of a mixed bag there too. All right, so we'll roll with what we have. We also leave a couple minutes at the end for questions for Sid and for myself.
So this is going to be perfect. That's what you're saying.
Absolutely, absolutely. So Sid, can you tell the folks in the crowd your role, a little bit more about what CUNA Mutual does, and maybe how you started your journey?
Sure.
As part of this,
Sure.
as part of your journey.
Yeah. So CUNA Mutual Group is an 85-year-old financial services organization. We provide services primarily to the credit unions. About 97% of the credit unions are in some shape or form customers of ours. And so this journey sort of began about 3 or 4 years ago. We've been undergoing multiple transformations. It started out with agile transformation, which is really where we decided to get the organization to practice agility, just so that we could work for or get ready for our digital transformation. But essentially from there on came out our sort of large account transformation. Purpose of it being to be able to really work well with our largest credit unions. Within that transformation is where we sort of saw this opportunity with this lending platform. Specifically for me, I've been with CUNA Mutual for about 9 years in varying degrees. I worked as a developer over there. I led our architecture practice. I was part of our internal startup called Advantage Analytics that provides software solutions to credit unions. I led the transformation practice and now lead, along with the transformation practice, our lending technology portfolio. So basically what was going on is we were trying to disintermediate the loan officer. So the way we sell our insurance products is primarily through the loan officer channel. And we were looking for a platform that would allow us that seamless transition, a digital platform that allowed the loan officers, other credit unions to be able to go through loan application process pretty seamlessly. There was an application called loanliner.com, it still exists. It was built about 30 years ago. Primary challenges were the ability to push workloads into production really quickly. It would take us anywhere between 3 months to 6 months to put a feature out. And so on the heels of that, we looked at other mergers and looked at acquisitions. The thing with startups is they're good at doing what they do, but the minute you bring them into an enterprise perspective, it becomes kind of hard for them to be able to make changes as well.
Right.
So we evaluated a bunch of options and decided that in LoanLiner we had a pretty good jumping point. Technology was a concern, but that we could remediate. And so that's what kickstarted our transformation journey.
So you mentioned the fact that you sort of centered around a system, a set of outcomes that you felt like you could achieve. I know that technology, to your point, was at the forefront of what needed to change. Also know from working alongside you and your team that you've adopted the Pivotal platform. Can you kind of talk about how sort of that decision sort of unfolded and why the platform was selected?
Sure. Yeah, so like I was saying, I think we'd looked at many options, right? We had our own internal capability. We were on a cloud journey. We basically did an apples to oranges type of comparison. We said, you know, we're doing our cloud journey. What would it take us to build a similar type of orchestration mechanism, something that PCF has out of the box?
Right.
Typical answers was 2 years, 3 years. Well,
Right.
it's you know, it's not our competency. That's not what we do best. It was, let's look at acquisition, right? Let's go out, buy the capability. Tried that, you know, invested quite a bit into an organization. We brought it in. It just didn't work out.
Yeah.
I mean, it was massive configuration changes and such, and they were just not capable of handling that. And so I think we looked at what our challenges were, and I think the biggest challenges were infrastructure, our ability to really, you know, have the developers focus on what was necessary, which is building, writing code, and pushing features to production.
Now I want to interrupt you just a little bit. Are you talking about it in the sense of the sort of typical constraints of enterprise IT, provisioning VMs? Is that sort of the...
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so yeah, your typical, you create a ticket, goes in someone's backlog, it takes them 2 to 3 weeks to provision that. It's the same server that got provisioned, but it took them 3 weeks to provision it.
Right.
So it was essentially abstracting and getting away from, you know, those infrastructure tasks and allowing us to run the platform as a product. I mean, that's what Pivotal does really well at
Right.
PCF. And so we obviously didn't just dive in, right? We did a 10-week POC. It was very deliberate. We talked to a bunch of customers. Wanted to be doubly sure that we were going to do this the right way. And so that's sort of, through the 10-week POC, we found significant amounts of acceleration, and that's how it led to PCF being brought in.
And how did you select the teams internally? Was it the sort of, you talked about the challenges of being able to produce features and functionality out on a regular clip. Did you lead with that team? I know some organizations hand select, you know, certain developers or profiles that come in.
Yeah, I'm going to say the latter.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we, like I said, we're an 85-year-old organization. On top of that, our technology team is unionized. So we have a ton of tenured folks, right? 39, 40 years in the org, and change is not easy.
Yep.
And the other thing we recognized is, you know, culture was very important to us. We wanted to build the right culture around this this particular initiative if we had to be successful. And also came to realize that culture cannot be bought. We
Yeah.
tried that, so it had to be built. And so we hand-selected a few folks who were already working in sort of some capacity in some of the other transformation initiatives. They were, you know, okay with the ambiguous. We, in fact, purposefully did not put our regular SMEs on this project, right? There was this individual who built the software in 1992, is still around, and he was there, but we did not put him on this initiative. And it was purposeful because we wanted others to learn.
Right.
We in fact we had an intern who had just become an employee, and we put him on the team just because we wanted to see what sort of change he would bring to the team. And lo and behold, you know, November of last year, this is October, it's been a great journey so far.
Yeah. You mentioned your background in enterprise architecture. As you have this role today, can you highlight where sort of sitting in the developer seat at CUNA, and then also more recently being in charge of enterprise architecture, enabled you to maybe foresee some of the roadblocks and do some of these innovative things like try to find people inside of the organization, especially less tenured ones, a recently graduated intern to really say, here's a new dynamic makeup of a team that's really going to drive the new culture here.
Yeah, so large organizations, there's always challenges moving things across the enterprise, and I think that's true for most enterprises. Being a developer, I was the one who was frustrated with enterprise architecture, or others, like, why don't we move fast enough? And so as I've kind of had the ability to be responsible for some of these teams, I didn't want to fall into those same mistakes. And so have been pretty deliberate on how we've gone about some of this, and no disrespect to the tenured developers as well.
Right.
We're trying to make that change, right? So we are trying to help them come along as well, and it will take time. But that's some of the things, along with my time in enterprise architecture has helped me sort of see a little bit more broader perspective. I am fairly technical by nature, and so we've been able to, look out and sort out some of those challenges that might be coming our way, and I've tried to stay ahead of that.
Yeah. Can you talk about the sort of customer partnership model that CUNA has with your partners in the credit union space, and can you talk about how sort of your transformation has maybe influenced them or vice versa?
Yeah, so our partners are, credit unions of all shapes and sizes, and I think our journey has, so I was here actually in Austin in May talking to the CUNA Tech Council about our agile transformation. And I think various credit unions are trying their digital transformation too. Right. They're at various steps in their journey, and I think what we've learned is that one size doesn't fit all, that we've got to be able to accommodate various credit unions in different, in different stages of their transformation, along with, I think, empathy and patience. We don't know everything. The same thing is that we've got to learn from them too. And so primarily it's been some of those things where we do a pretty, we try user groups, we do pilot groups with them, constant feedback from them, trying to make sure that we're listening to them continually, which helps with our platform. Because I think like most large enterprises, and how LoanLiner came about is because CUNA Mutual knew what they were going to solve for the industry.
Right.
And that's not necessarily true all the time. It's your customers sort of tell you what features they're looking for.
Right. So let's head back to sort of the technology transformation. Putting a platform like the Pivotal platform in place is most often kind of just sort of the tip of the iceberg in terms of the work that needs to be done to really build sort of a modern software delivery practice. Can you talk about some of the other transformations internally, whether it be change management or interfacing with the business? Can you kind of talk about some of the other broader changes that you experienced as part of this process?
Yeah, and CUNA Mutual is still undergoing a transformation, so we're maybe like year 3 into our maybe 5-year journey. Our strategy has been to be able to, reach more customers digitally and be able to, work really well with our credit unions, engage and improve our workplace and, our employee engagement. So it's been gradual. A business, like I said, we had a top-down agile transformation, so the business was bought in that that's what needed to happen. But I still think they didn't quite understand what their level of engagement was going to be. To sort of make up for some of the lack of, skills and knowledge, we did, employ this trio model, which was a transformation lead, a tech lead, and a business owner, which has now eventually morphed into like a product owner / architect model. But I think the business now realizes, I mean, before I had, the lending product technology, lending technology was too expensive, too slow.
Right.
And now we've brought them into our process. We colo all the time, like literally all the time. We have hackathons almost every month. We've introduced our own internal conference. We have an internal open source repository. So it's been a significant change in the last couple of years. And business sees that. The delivery has been really great. And so now it's gone from, hey, how can I give you more to kind of achieve more? So it's coming around, but I still think it still has to go across the broader organization as well.
Can you talk a little bit more about maybe the non-traditional sort of new way of thinking and funding of projects from a business standpoint? How have you've sort of brought the business along too in terms of maybe sort of a project mindset versus today more of a product mindset?
Yeah, and I've got to say, we're not perfect and probably aren't going to be, right? I've been on numerous Gartner calls and I've participated. I think everyone's doing it differently. Because you don't really know what a product is in financial services, right? Is my product the API that's available to people that I'm going to monetize, or is it the insurance product that I'm selling? So that's always a challenge, but we've tried to bring finance along with this to try and help them fund our teams, so that it's fund the team, right? Trying to go to that model rather than, hey, here's a project, here's what your outcome's going to be. We're still pretty immature and nascent on that, and it's going to take us some time to truly mature into being somewhat product centric.
Yeah. I think another thing that's interesting about the CUNA story is the fact that you folks are a .NET shop, and in contrast to the Java Spring world that we're here celebrating in part this week alongside of the
we
.NET
just
folks.
lost a bunch of developers and just walked away.
No, but it is true, right? The .NET sort of community is still very much coming along in the open source, sort of cloud native. They're coming sort of second to the table, but it is catching up. Can you kind of talk about maybe the evolution in the journey for you as a .NET shop, and maybe in contrast to some of the Java Spring folks that are out there?
Yeah, I think there's a few pivotal architects here that can kind of vouch for our journey too. There's Brian right there. So it hasn't been as smooth as maybe it was with some of the other ones. We're running into challenges. I mean, not only are we PCF or PASW on Azure, but we have this small footprint, and we chose to do certain things differently. And being financial services, security is at our forefront, so we couldn't just go with certain things that Pivotal would typically sort of recommend. And in that, we're trying to find folks similar as us, and so working with some of the other, and we found some like Merrill and some other organizations that are PCF on Azure. We've run across them and are now trying to sort of see how we can help each other out, forming a consortium or a user group of some kind.
Right. Makes sense. Can you talk about sort of the dev culture? My understanding, just based off of our recent catch-up and updates, is that you've got a team now of about 100 people. You talked about the fact that you can't buy culture. Can you talk about the culture that's sort of slowly morphed over time?
Yeah, so my group is sort of, if you think of value streams, we call ourselves lending, but we don't lend anything. So that's a big thing. The value stream is sort of, we have a digital value stream, we have a document and compliance value stream, and then we have our policy administration, record keeping value stream. And for the longest time, it was a tale of sort of these two against one, where in the policy administration space, we have just sort of mainframe and developers who were just doing that for the longest period of time. And we had all these digital guys that were working on, the coolest technology. And so we have employed sort of this this hackathon mindset where we bring these folks along, we rotate our staff around. We do allow, we are allowing them and giving them the opportunity to learn building cloud native applications. So just recently, about 2 weeks ago, our modernization team, we have some other partners here who we are working with, they are taking a mainframe application and rewriting it into .NET. And so that team is now doing some of the cloud development as well. So it's just these, slow changes,
Right.
but you gradually infuse them with the right folks, and they kick off.
I heard you mention digital. From where we sit at Solstice, we see a lot of our customers kind of have a two-pronged outcome to achieve. The first is modernization of key and critical systems, but in many cases, there's either a digital refresh or a digital sort of outcome that's associated with that. Can you talk about how digital as a whole at CUNA fits into or maybe sits adjacent to your world?
Yeah, so what I can speak to is digital in my world, because digital across CUNA Mutual is still being figured out, right? I mean, what that means across CUNA Mutual is going to sort of form itself in the next year or two. But what it means to us is primarily customer acquisition. So we have lead generation, marketing capability. We have our loan application intake, which is LoanLiner, the application that we're modernizing, and then we have a loan officer in our API channel. So we associate that with digital, really just being able to bring the right capability to the right customer in the right channel.
Right.
It's sort of the typical omni-channel journey, and our intent is to try and make that happen.
Yeah. Inside of a large organization like CUNA, is the plan to sort of create sort of a rinse and repeat model across different areas of the business? Have you been sort of brought in to kind of provide direction of lessons learned and things of that nature?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So I work directly with a CIO on a tech enablement team, which is really to be able to share everything. And it's not just us. There's other parts of the company that are going through a transformation too, which is really any model that works that we can make repeatable is something that we're going to go to. We're on this sort of like 3-year technology strategy journey too, which started with agility first. Our ability to just be able to work really well within the ambiguous, left or right, front or back, just sort of be able to make changes really quickly. This year was really all about cloud. The question about why not cloud, and next year we're going to insert data into it. So it's been pretty deliberate, and really our approach has been, now what does it take to enable some of these capabilities? So the first year was agility, so we brought in a bunch of agile coaches, trained every team possible. That led to us creating these accelerators, hackathons and such. This year was really all about cloud, and so who's doing cloud? How are we doing cloud? How can we do cloud secure and responsibly? So can we insert some of the guardrails directly into our containers?
Yep.
How does PCF help us with some of that? So, and next year is going to be the added aspect of bringing data into all of this.
Yeah, I think as we see across a lot of enterprises, there's just a data gravity component, and data's sort of the last big hurdle for a lot of organizations. So that's very synonymous with what we're seeing. As you zoom out, Sid, and look at the journey that you've been on, the things you've been able to accomplish. It was fun sitting down to dinner with you last night and hearing about your team pushing a big release out on a Tuesday, right? I think back to my time in the enterprise, it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, right? So can you kind of talk about some of the big wins and the challenges that maybe have kind of faded into the background that are still very, very significant for organizations who are maybe represented in the crowd today who haven't had the opportunity to experience some of those things?
Yeah, like my team says this to me, right? OKRs, we did OKRs, and for folks who don't know, it's objectives and key results. We did OKRs before OKRs became a big thing in CUNA Mutual. So, it's been our sole objective to kind of create things that are usable and our developers can see actually bring value to the business.
Yeah.
And we used to be able to do releases once every 6 months. We do releases. We are capable of doing releases daily. We don't. We do it every 2 weeks. But with blue-green deployments, with canary deployments, we're able to do them as and when needed.
Yeah.
So it's not a constraint about, hey, we're going to be in this environment, we're going to test the environment, we're going to test the data, make sure it's all accurate before we actually push it to prod. It's not that anymore.
Yeah.
It's TDD, it's BDD, it's making sure all of our test cases, and so those are some of the metrics that we've leveraged to also prove to the business, because the first 4 months were so foundational, they didn't see a thing. Right? They didn't really know what they were getting.
Sure, that was a fun time for you.
Yeah, and so why are we spending all this money?
Right.
Where is our stuff? Where's our stuff at? And so it really became a hockey stick moment for us. Our target, so just from metrics perspective, our target was to have 5 customers migrated onto the platform this year. By the end of next month, we will have the entire platform migrated. So 550 customers, they'll all be migrated.
Wow.
Yeah, I was just showing you the picture earlier. We migrated one of our toughest clients this morning, and so dev team's messing around and sending me pictures that stuff isn't working, and I'm like, we know that's not the case. But I think we've truly empowered our teams, right? Even as we've gone from this 30-year monolith to this microservices, they're getting better at figuring out, what that granularity should be as well. And so it's less of how much we manage them and now more of them figuring some of this out for themselves.
That's great. Any last minutes of advice for folks in the crowd who are on a similar journey?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some folks here that are probably in a similar journey as us, and what I'd say is stay committed, right? Just like the first 4 months for us there was nothing happening. It was just really foundational, build, and we'll get there. And we suddenly reached this moment where we were able to accelerate significantly. So continue to stay, committed to what you're trying to achieve.
Love it. Sid, thank you so much for your time. Do we have time for questions, or should people just 1 or 2 questions? Anyone in the crowd have a question? If not, Sid will be here for a couple moments. I know he's got to run to a flight, but Sid, thank you so much, as well as to CUNA for partnering and bringing your story here to SpringOne platform this week.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah.